What is up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of the Noble Comics Show. It is me, your host, Tan the Man Edelman, also known as Mr. Noble Comics himself. Now, let's get into the show. First things first, we're going to take a look at a little something that surely you've heard of by now, and that is going to be Noble Comics presents the Displacer graphic novel. This is my second graphic novel that I've got up for sale right now on Indiegogo. As you can see, got about 3 weeks left, and we're almost at our goal of $1,000. We're at 22 backers. If you haven't checked out this comic yet, now is the time. You want to get your hands on it, and you can go through the campaign, look at everything we're offering, and see why this comic is the right one for you. Now, I want to preface this for a little bit. It's the first episode. It's a new show. We're trying something new out here. If it goes well, there'll definitely be more. If it doesn't go well, I'll probably still make more. But I want to let you know kind of what we've got planned. The structure I see is like start out maybe with like a promotion, recommendation, review type of thing. Move into some news, current events, opinion type of things. Then towards the end, I want to move into more comic-specific stuff. Specifically, I want to look at some obscure comic book characters that I don't think get enough attention, bring them up, and then we close it out. That's what I think. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how it goes. But a very, very special episode because we have breaking news today. Just came out not 5 seconds ago. Breaking news. And that is that beloved childhood character, Velma Dinkley, is a lesbian. Who would have guessed it? Who would have guessed it? Except literally everyone. Literally everyone. Velma is officially a lesbian in Scooby-Doo film, the newest one, years after James Gunn and Moore tried to make her explicitly gay. It's a pretty loaded headline. Let me try and deconstruct that for you. We'll go from the bottom up. Moore tried to make her explicitly gay. They're referring to specifically the Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated TV show. That was a few years ago at this point that it ran, in which the creators wanted Velma to be a lesbian. But for whatever reason, the studio, kicked that back to him, said no thank you. And instead they had a good storyline where she was in a very nice, loving, heterosexual relationship with Shaggy. James Gunn, who directed the Scooby-Doo movies, it was like early 2000s, also wanted her to be explicitly gay. But as he put it, they kept watering down that storyline until it was pretty clear she was not gay. And she even had a boyfriend, I believe, in the sequel. So they've been trying for a long time to make Velma a lesbian. And they've succeeded. You might be asking yourself, why? Why is Velma Dinkley a lesbian? There's really no answer, except for that for some reason people want her to be. I don't know what it is with Velma. She's got this weird cult following online. And I feel like it's especially around the sewer-dwelling scum on Tumblr, mainly, is the vibrations I get from that, the vibe I get from that. But they've succeeded. They've got a gay Velma. Now, I'm sure this movie will blow up at the box office, billion-dollar film. Now they finally got a gay Velma, right? Isn't that how it works, guys? Isn't that how it works? They got what they wanted. Now they'll make $1 billion. Yeah, right. So, Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo. Newest film where the Mystery Inc. gang encounters costume designer Coco Diablo, who is this being right here, who looks like a Tumblr art, which means it looks very bad and stupid and ugly, and that is the point. So, that's what you get there. Let's take a look at a clip here, folks.
As promised, here are your Scooby snacks.
Jinkies indeed. So here we've got Velma being horny on main, falling in love with Coco Diablo. Diablo's right. That's what I'm saying. So, there we have it, folks. We've got a gay Velma. Now, I'm sure people out there thinking, like, well, who cares? Why do you care? You know, why is that a big deal? And you'd probably not be wrong in saying it's not a big deal. I would say if it is not a big deal, then why are you writing articles about it, making such a big deal about it? But regardless, and it's not about Velma. We know this inherently. It's not about Velma, just like it wasn't about Ariel being black, just like it wasn't about Thor being a woman. It's all of these things together, painting a picture of the culture, right? It's an op. They're trying to change the culture in their image, which is very gay and minority based, I guess. But that's what it is. It's just every single step they take. You make a fuss about it. They say, what? It's just one step. And you're like, okay, fine, whatever. But then it's 10,000 steps later, and everything that you grew up with your entire childhood is now gay, which is what we're seeing. And if you're a comic book fan, you know that to be extremely true. Everybody's gay now in the comics, which we might touch on at some point. But so there we have it. Velma Dinkley's gay. And at some point, I don't know. You could say, okay, would it be better if she was dating Shaggy? Because look, the gang had it pretty well. They had a pretty good organization. You had 2 boys, 2 girls, dog. Now Daphne and Fred, that's a match made in heaven. That's jock cheerleader. They're doing their own thing. Then you had Shaggy and Velma. Do they pair up just because there are only 2 there? Maybe. But here's the thing. I don't even want that to happen, if I'm honest. I don't like the idea of Shaggy having sex. I just don't. Shaggy does not fuck, okay? Shaggy eats sandwiches and hangs out with his dog. That's all he needs. He's a bit of a burnout. Maybe a bit of a stoner is the vibe that you get from him. Shaggy does not have a girlfriend. He doesn't need one. All he needs is a sandwich and his dog, and he's good. So then you ask, okay, then what are you supposed to do with Velma? Nothing. Have you thought about that? Who gives a shit? It's Velma Dinkley. Who cares? Nothing is the answer. That's what you do with her. You do nothing. Just have her be just a regular person. She doesn't need to have this explicit love interest type thing. Now, and you could say, oh, well, the straight love interests have always been there, that you're fine with that. And because I know that's coming, but that's not even the case. Look, Fred was always wanting to take Daphne and go explore with her. We know that. Every single episode. Hey, I'll take Daphne. Let's go check out the bedroom. Check for the ghost, of course. We know that that's been a thing. But it's always been pretty subtle. I think in the Mystery Incorporated TV show, it was not so subtle. But for the most part, the entire history of Scooby-Doo, it's pretty subtle. This is not subtle. This is not subtle. So no, I don't want to just sit back and say nothing or clap like a trained seal when they tell me to clap because Velma's gay and everyone's celebrating on Twitter. Because guess what? I don't want my childhood characters that I grew up with being deformed and being fucking twisted to some agenda. I don't need to know that Velma Dinkley eats pussy, okay? I don't need to know that. I don't need to know that. Neither does anybody else. Okay? Okay. That's all I'm trying to say. Very, very stupid change. But again, I know it's going to be like, oh, what do you care? It's not that big a deal. Sure, one individual case, Velma being gay. Is it that big of a deal? Probably not. But it's just the pattern that you see. And it's never going to end. Ever. You'd have to, like, round up every single Hollywood elite and celebrity and just make a human sacrifice in, like, a big giant volcano. Just push them all in and make a sacrifice And maybe that would like sway the course of the universe enough that there would no longer be these changes. Could I advocate for something like that? Obviously not. That would be terrible if that happened, okay? If we rounded up all the Hollywood elites and the liberals and the liberal politicians and the celebrities and we threw them in a giant volcano, that would be awful. That would be terrible, and I would never want that to happen. I get sick even thinking about it. Getting rid of all those liberal Hollywood stars and celebrities, getting rid of them in that way, that's terrible. It's making me sick. I would never do it. Would never even think about it. Never even think about it. But so, that's story number one. Velma's gay. Do with it what you will. Story number two comes way of Twitter, and that's the Joe Glass situation. As you can see here, this is from Sierra Whiskey. And this is the Cliff Notes version. I'll show you the full thing first. So Joe Glass, who is some comic book professional, he is also gay. So I'm sure he's very excited about the Velma news. Good for him. But he says, just learned there's a TERF conference coming to Cardiff this month. And somebody replies to that by saying, what the absolute fuck? Isn't it a building that would be a loss if it got burned down? And Joe Glass says, not sure yet. It's not been confirmed which hotel is hosting it. So that's the setup. He's disgusted. He's vomit mouth emoji. Disgusted. There'd be a TERF conference near him. If you guys don't know what a TERF is, you're one of the fortunate few, but not anymore because I'm about to tell you. A TERF is a, what do they say? Like a trans-erasing radical feminist. So it's basically a feminist who does not acknowledge men who identify as a woman to be a real woman, aka every person on the planet before 5 minutes ago. But they have a special designation. So they're these wacky feminists like J.K. Rowling. They call her a TERF. Wacky feminists who don't want men pretending to be women and taking all their adulations and all their awards and records and all that stuff. Bunch of freaks, honestly. And so somebody has the response of, what the absolute fuck? He can't even fathom the fact that the TERFs would have a conference. And then he asks, innocuously, hey, would it be a bad thing if we burned their building down? What if we just commit a small act of arson sprinkled in with some terrorism? Would that be so bad? They deserve it. They're TERFs. They deserve to have a building burned down. They don't like trans people. Yeah, fuck them. And so Joe Glass says, not sure yet. He says, not sure. He's not sure if the building they're in should be burned down just yet. They need to figure out where it is first. Reasonable enough. And then this was the response he had. He said, great. Now I'm being dogpiled by TERFs for pointing out they're doing a con in my neighborhood. And someone commented a silly joke on it, which I had no part of, by the way. Like, how am I supposed to... like, how am I in control of what other people say? So, Joe's just saying, man, what did I got to do with that? So what? Some dude comments on my post wanting to burn down a building, asking if it's cool, and I say, hey, man, I don't know yet. It's just some guy's just like telling a silly joke. It's just a silly joke. And I interacted with it, and I thought it was funny. But that's my fault? It's being dogpiled now, guys. Bet he wishes he was being dogpiled by men right now. Not that there's anything wrong with that if you're Joe Glass. Not sure how many men he pulls looking like that, though. But, hey. So that's the Joe Glass thing. So, pretty much... I don't know. It's like, I don't want to sit here and pearl clutch and be like, oh my gosh, they threatened to burn down a building. Obviously, that guy's joking. Do I think that guy's going to burn down a building? Not a chance. Do I think that guy can beat like an entire conference full of women and burn down this building? I doubt it. I doubt that guy can beat getting up in the morning. He probably hates his life and hates himself. Just guessing based on this single interaction. This guy's not going to do anything. You know what I mean? You could spit in this guy's face, he'd probably say sorry. Joe Glass is the same way, but he's on Twitter, so it's fun to talk tough on Twitter and tell jokes that if you were anybody else, you'd probably get in big trouble. So that's kind of what we've got there. Do with that as you will. Thought it was an interesting story. Number 3 on the docket, we've got Tim Drake swings into center stage with his own comic series. Now, you guys already know where I'm going with this. There's been a new Tim Drake Robin series. Tim Drake Robin. And it's gotten some interesting feedback. Which, I mean, it's been all negative. If you don't know, if you're not up to date with your Tim Drake situation, Tim Drake, the third Robin, has been kind of, in my opinion, over the course of the entire characters line, has been kind of in this weird limbo stage after Damian Wayne came around. And I'm assuming people know who that is. That is Batman's legitimate son, Damian Wayne, becomes the new Robin. So Tim Drake Robin became a character called Red Robin. And he didn't have a lot to do, I think, as part of the Teen Titans for a while. But he was kind of just doing his own thing, kind of neglected. Because the other two Robins, the first one, Nightwing, and the second one, Red Hood, were actually really developed. And their status just kind of kept going up in the comic world, where Tim Drake kind of fell off to the side. Recently, they've announced that Tim Drake, shocker, Tim Drake's bisexual. Who would have guessed it? Now, they say bisexual. They mean Tim Drake's gay. Tim Drake will never ever be with another woman for as long as these wacko liberals have control over him. But they have to call him bisexual because his entire character before this point has been straight. So that's what they get away with it. So in this new comic series, well, in the previous series, Tim Drake gets this boyfriend named Bernard. And then in this new series, it's kind of continuing this storyline. And the biggest tragedy is that this art looks really good, except the fact that they've always got to be eating something. It's a weird thing with liberal comics. Food is like a huge plot point. That looks pretty good. That does not look that good. Not a fan. Yeah, that's because it's George Jimenez. He's a great artist. This guy, don't know. And then this art is really dynamic. A dope anime style. Looks sick. Now, let's do a live search here. I tried finding the interior art of this comic. Oh, here it is. Let's open image. So this is the interior art of the comic. No, I'm not kidding. So this is the cover. This action-packed badass cover. Or this just good art with this stupid food in it. But this is the cover. This is the main cover. You're like, whoa, that looks sick. Let me buy it. You open it up, and you're greeted with this. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, dang, is that Velma and her new lesbian girlfriend? No. That's Tim Drake Robin. And that's Bernard, the boyfriend. Now, this one page, not to mention the fact that Bernard sneaks up on Robin, trained by Batman. Not to mention the fact that Robin, trained by Batman, superhero for years, looks like this. Where's the definition, man? Where's the muscle structure? Why do you look like you do? Yeah. Looks terrible. That's a man. That's a superhero. That's one of the most highly skilled fighters and detectives in DC Comics. And now I'm feeling suicidal. Tim Drake has always been my favorite Robin. And this is what they do to him. This is what they do. What are you going to do, right? Not much you can do about it. But that was one of the bigger news stories that went on just recently is more destruction of the Batman line. Look, their main goal is Batman. Okay, I don't know if you know this. Their main goal is to get Batman. They've already got Superman. Which you might think, surely Superman's their main goal. It's Superman. No. Superman's not their main goal. He was a great catch, but Batman's the main goal. Batman is DC Comics. Okay? I'm pretty sure they made Dick Grayson gay. Nightwing. Now they've got Tim Drake's gay. I know. They so badly. They want to make Batman gay so bad. It's probably eating them up inside, knowing that he's not. And I've talked about this before. I know the plan. Kill Batman off, replace him, do whatever you got to do to get him out of the picture. Take one of these cronies, make him the new Batman, and then bada bing, Batman's gay. It's exactly what they did with Superman. Got him out of the picture, replaced him with John Kent, and gave him the Superman mantle. Now all of a sudden, Superman's gay. So just wait. Batman will be eventually. Everyone will be gay eventually. And you'll be left there wondering what the hell happened. Okay. Before I get to the next one, I want to take a short pause here. As soon as I figure out how to stop sharing my screen. Okay. We're going to take a short pause. We just covered a lot of information, and I just kind of want to look back on it, have a little bit of a discussion about it. So one major thing that we've been seeing is a lot of radical changes with typical comic characters, but not only that. It's all corporate IPs are being changed for a very particular reason. Okay. And the intuitive thought, perhaps, is the reason they're changing stuff is because they really, really want to be inclusive. They want to be diverse, inclusive, kind, and caring, and all that stuff. That is not what these people want, okay? Maybe the 75 IQ cronies that are actually writing this stuff, maybe that's what they want. I'm willing to believe that. But you think DC Comics wants Batman to be gay? You think Jim Lee is like, man, I really wish Batman sucked cock? You think that's what he thinks? Not even close. Okay. This all has to do with monetary gain, which of course it does. Of course it does. These are businesses, okay? More than anything, they just care about making money. Making money formulating IPs that they can later sell to make more money is what they want. So the way I see it is, take Batman, for example. Take Tim Drake, Robin being gay. The way I see that is, one, they want to create outrage. That's the plan. Create outrage, get people to talk about it like me, like anybody else, to get more eyes on the property, because there's no such thing as bad publicity. Maybe this will drive some young gay comic book fan to buy a Tim Drake comic, which I'm willing to say maybe there's one person like that in the United States that this actually worked on. So that's maybe part of it. Maybe they think that having more eyes on the project will get people to buy it. More than likely, though, they already know that this comic is dead in the water. They know that by issue 3, it's already going to be losing money every issue. If it's not already losing money every issue, it probably is. But it's probably going to be losing money every issue. But they're going to keep publishing it until they get to a decent stopping point, or until they've generated enough outrage that it's kind of, everybody knows about it. It's all died out at this point. and there's just nothing. It's just puttering away, and they need to replace it. So they have a new series, new number one, a new reveal, new outrage, so they can sell more comics. But more than likely, they know they're going to lose money. These books do not sell. You look at across Marvel and DC over the past 7 years, I think it's a good time frame. It's really been happening since the early 2000s. I think it's been extremely explicit after 2015. And that's the fact that they don't want straight white men reading their books. In fact, some people have gone as far as to say so, saying things like, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book, and they get butthurt, or they can only afford cat food and can't feed themselves because no one buys their book. So, but you've seen it become pretty explicit. I think characters like America Chavez, obviously Miss Marvel, Riri Williams, Jane Foster Thor, Miles Morales Spider-Man to a degree, John Kent Superman, Aqualad, Kid Flash, Tim Drake Robin, and I know I'm missing a ton. This is all just off the top of my head, trying to think of people. Pretty much all of the Justice League and all of the Avengers. You can say the Amadeus Cho Hulk. And all of those cases, if you're not familiar with, it's one case of Bobby Drake Iceman. It's a case of taking a character who is normally white, straight, male, all of the above, either or, and changing that aspect of them simply to change that aspect of them. So you had Riri Williams, who we'll talk about later. That is Ironheart, and you'll see a similar formula. You've got Iron Man, Tony Stark. He's this billionaire. He has this pretty dope story. He made weapons. Then one day, he gets blown up by his own weapon that's being used by terrorists. He realizes that he's part of this system that is arming terrorists. He gets trapped in a cave. He's got to build his own suit in this cave with nothing, and then escape. He shuts down his weapons program. He starts making suits, becomes a superhero. He becomes Iron Man. Now he fights for, truth, justice, the American way, for goodness and greatness and all that good stuff. But he's a little bit of an asshole. He's definitely got his flaws. He was a bit of an alcoholic. He's a jerk. He's hard to get along with. Very hard-headed. And that gets him into trouble. That's what we call a character. Riri Williams, on the other hand, Ironheart, is just it's you can tell all these comics are written by women, because it's just like, what do I wish I was? Well, I wish that I was just like the smartest, and I was like the best, and I was just like, what if I was like totally like the best, and I was so smart? I was way smarter than Iron Man, and I was like better than him. That's Riri Williams. She's just genius. She's just smarter, and she's just better. And that's kind of a similar theme. It's like, oh, Jane Foster Thor. Yeah, she's just better at being Thor than the guy who's actually Thor. I don't know why they gave her the title of Thor. It's not a mantle. That's just the dude's name. Like, imagine a superhero named Kevin, and this chick comes along, and she's like, yeah, I'm she Kevin. I'm female Kevin. It's like, no, that's not like my superhero name. That's just my actual name. So we got Woman Thor, Mighty Thor, whatever you want to call her. And it's this thing. They take a character, they swap them in some way, and then they immediately just shit on the original character. I'm better. They did that with Wolverine too. Yeah, with X-23 becoming the new Wolverine. She is Wolverine now, and she's just better than Logan. She's just better. And usually they will ritually humiliate the original characters by having them kiss the ass of the person replacing them. So you'll have Iron Man be like, oh man, Riri Williams, you're so smart. I wish I was as smart as you at your age. Gee. Or you'll have Wolverine be like, wow, X-23, no, I guess I should call her Wolverine. She's got so much to teach me. Like, it's everywhere. It is everywhere. If you think I'm making this up, it is literally everywhere. Every single character that you can think of, it has happened to. If it hasn't happened yet, it will. So that is the trend where this is headed. And again, you saw this in Doctor Who. You've seen this in Lord of the Rings. You've seen this in pretty much every single mainstream pop culture, entertainment, anything like that. They've just been getting after it. Even James Bond, G.I. Joe, they've been getting all of them. All of them have gotten the treatment. And now Scooby-Doo is getting the treatment. So that's what we got to see with Velma there. Lesbian Velma. Hooray. But again, not surprising. It's part of the trend. It is part of the trend. Same thing with Tim Drake. And you wonder, how does this stuff happen, right? I thought comic books were for young men. How does this stuff happen? That's because you have people like Joe Glass in charge. You have people like that. People like Heather Antos. And people like Gail Simone. And people like, is it Sama Amanat? These people, you put them in positions of power, and they're terrible at their job. They're not real fans. They know nothing about about actual comics or any sort of nerd culture stuff. They know nothing about it. They are clueless. Again, room temperature IQ to begin with, and they also know nothing about it to begin with. They're physically incapable of doing a good job. So they exclusively are in positions of power. So when a guy like Joe Glass wants to come along and write whatever bullshit he wants to write, immediately gets the stamp of approval. And that's true for all these guys. Yeah, I want to make a comic, except the art is like really, really bad, and the story is really, really bad, and it's something that nobody asks for and nobody's going to buy, and it's going to lose money and be really unpopular. That's my pitch. And they're like, oh, yeah, sounds great. You said gay? You said he's gay? Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely greenlit. Let's make it a 12 issue. At least let's like pre-order 12 issues. So just all this to say, it's not new by any means. The liberal agenda in these comics and in all these properties has been apparent for years. It's not new. But to sit by and say nothing when it happens is pretty much a sin of omission. You can't just let it happen. You got to at least say something. Like, come on, guys. How much longer are you going to let this shit happen? Now, what's the alternative, right? It's like, oh, well, what do you do? How do we not let this shit happen? We can't realistically round them up and throw them in a volcano, which I would not want to have happen in the first place we established. The main thing you can do is just not purchase the product. Like, don't watch the new Star Wars movies. Don't watch the new Marvel movies. Don't watch the new Disney Plus show. Don't go out and watch the new Scooby-Doo movie. Don't buy the comics. But that's pretty much what we're doing already. And while it does have an effect, it is a small effect, in my opinion. Because I genuinely think they don't really care. They know that if I make Robin gay, maybe that will put him into the culture more, at least an immediate boost, and then I can sell that character and put him in a movie and I can make money. Same thing they did with America Chavez. She came out like in 2016 and she's already been in the new Doctor Strange movie. America Chavez gets a feature release before Moon Knight does, before Blade does in the MCU, or the Fantastic Four in the MCU, or Wolverine or the X-Men. Before literally any number of hundreds and hundreds of other characters. America Chavez got a feature release before Beta Ray Bill, who has been like a fan favorite. People have wanted to see Beta Ray Bill in the Thor movies forever. He doesn't get in it, not even like a cameo. But America Chavez gets a movie centered around her. Okay, same thing. Riri Williams is going to be in Black Panther before any of this stuff too. Riri Williams gets her debut in the same movie that Namor gets his debut. Namor, the first Marvel character from 1939, hasn't got a movie until now anywhere. And it's in the same movie as her. That checks out. That makes sense. But I was saying they don't care because they know they can sell the IP, they can make money, at least get a little boost, or also they've got the government paying them to do this bullshit in the first place. The ESG funds. DC probably gets a shitload of money. It's like, oh, all of your senior editors are all women and gay. Yeah, let me cut you a check that covers all of, like, their books don't need to make money. Their books do not need to sell at all for them to collect a paycheck because the government's paying them to be more inclusive and to be more diverse and all that stuff. So I wanted to paint that picture, show you a few articles here that are what I'm talking about and one of the people behind it, and get that out of the way. Now let's move. Let's keep going. I've got one or two more stories, and then see what else we got going. But I showed you one person, Mr. Joe Glass, who is part of this terrible system. And now let me show you another part of this terrible system. And that is Patrick S. Tomlinson. Now, I could do an entire show about this guy, and I'm considering it at some point. It is one of the most unhinged, deranged individuals that I have actually come across in real life that walks around like a regular person. This guy is fucked up in the head. He is not right. Let's see if I can check out Home Slice's bio here. Sci-fi author, rabble rouser, and then he's got, this should be some graphic novels that he's got in the Black Gatecrashers Starship Repo. So that's kind of his deal. Writes sci-fi stuff. He's some sort of culture dude, in the sense that, people know who Pat Tomlinson is. Oh yeah, he's that guy. He is in the circle with the rest of them. So I had this pulled up here just to kind of show you how, again, it's hard to unravel. It is hard to unravel this guy. I would like to cut back before I start reading this to a few years ago. I don't have the sound clip for this. I will have to find it. A few years ago, some guy wanted to prank Pat Tomlinson, and so they had this fake interview thing where they would call him, and it was like this fake interview. Laughing just thinking about it. And they just wasted this guy's time. And at the end of it, what did they say to him? They said something like, "Does your mom know that you're a retard with bitch tits?" And obviously this caught Pat Tomlinson off guard. He thought he was doing a legitimate interview for a magazine, and then he found out that he got pranked. And he has this like alternate personality that he falls back into as like a defense mechanism. It's like, I don't know what happened to Pat Tomlinson as a child. I don't know if he was like molested or something like that. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But he falls into this weird alter ego where he starts calling people child, and he talks like, no child, no child. It is you who doesn't know what you're talking about. Like, you have to find this video. I have to find this video to show you guys, maybe in a future installment. This will be like a callback at the beginning of the show. But it's this weird, I don't know what it is. It's psychotic. And you can see this here. So apparently, Pat Tomlinson was doxxed. He was doxxed, and he's been swatted like 6 times. Look, I am not for doxing. I am not for swatting. I think swatting is very dangerous. You could easily get moided in your own house by some stupid SWAT agent. He could walk in, see you holding a TV remote, think it's a gun, and shoot you. I'm not for doxing people. At some point, you got to have to kind of draw a line. You can't reveal where somebody lives and all that stuff. It's a little bit too far. However, Pat is an insane loser, and it's kind of hilarious. So, So, and you can see it here. He's replying to people that I guess are making fun of him. Yeah. So this guy's replying to him. I'm not going to get into this whole thread of what they're talking about. He says here, son, if I wanted to intimidate you, believe me, I would. Oh my gosh. Son, if I wanted to intimidate you, believe me, I would. That's how he is saying it in his head. I've had front row seats to all the ins and outs of internet-based intimidation and bullying every day for 4 years. You are not being intimidated. You are not being bullied. You're being spoken to like an adult. Despite the fact that he calls him son in the first sentence, he says that's how you talk to adults. Again, there's something, this guy's mind does not work right. Something about it, his mind does not work correctly. But again, he talks like he's a comic book supervillain or something. To which this guy replies, if you're not trying to intimidate me, why are you addressing me with a pejorative? We're likely about the same age, yet you call me son? And he says, because you act like a fucking child, son. And so that was his thing. He calls people child, he calls people son. Our private information is not publicly available, child. That's what private means. You're an anti-free speech crusader, child. And keep that in mind. Anti-free speech. He hates people who are anti-free speech. You daren't be anti-free speech around Pat Tomlinson. He wants all ideas and all opinions to be able to be spoken and broadcasted without someone coming and censoring them and crusading against them. He is pro-freedom of speech. Good to know. So this is, if you just want to read through his tweets, it is deranged. The man is not right. And recently, he's gotten into a bit of trouble, and this is courtesy of Ethan Van Sciver, where I've pulled these from. He says here, over the weekend, my passions got the better of me for a minute, and a few people had to help me disengage from a fascist's face. One of them, who had not met me before, asked if I needed some time to decompress. Folks, I'm always exactly this pressurized. It doesn't go away. And so, by his account, he had to be pulled away. Stop holding me back, because he was in the face of some fascists. Far-right fascist Nazis were in his face, and someone had to pull him back. Well, we have some video. And I don't know the sequential order. All of these, you should be able to hear the audio for all of them. Let's just play them from top to bottom.
Trump is your president. That's right. God bless America.
No, you can't touch me. I'm not going to touch you. You already did something.
What's up, bro? Hey, how you doing?
Smile big.
Yeah, right here. What's your name, man? What brought you out here?
Did you want to talk, have a conversation, or you just want to have a little slogan?
Who are you here to help?
America's son.
Are you?
Yeah.
In what way?
So what did we just witness there? And I really hope that the audio was playing. I'm pretty sure it is. It should be. So what we saw there, we see this lovely lady pull up in her vehicle. She's got a Trump hat. She says, Trump's my president. We learn that the person recording this lady also has a Trump hat, Make America Great Again. And he says, yes, Trump's your president. God bless America. And then we hear, let's see if we can hear that again. Trump
is your president. That's right. God bless America.
No, you can't touch me. I'm not going to touch you. You already did something.
So you heard there, he says, don't touch me. Pat Tomlinson says, don't touch me. He says, I'm not going to touch you. He says, you already did, son. He's already calling this dude son. Does that guy look like a son to you? That guy looks like a pops to me. If you would have said, you already did, pops, there'd be a little bit of respect. Calls the guy son. Again, with this weird thing. Then he gets in, he does the classic soy jack. Let me get in your face with the phone. Smile real big. And he's like, hey, man, what's up? Smile. Says, you want to have a conversation? He says, no. And then, who are you trying to help? He says, America, son. Again, with this weird dialogue he has. This is the soy Pat Tomlinson coming up with the cell phone. Then it continues.
In what way?
Trump supporter.
Yeah.
No,
So you support America?
No, child. You gotta be.
Some of our guys went. They walked over.
I thought we talked about
I know we did. I'm just making sure that they get back safely. So they're just. In what way? Yeah.
It's one more time. So he says, in what way? This is in regards to what he just said. Trying to save America. In what way? He says, you're a Trump supporter. Don't know what that has to do with it.
No,
So you support America?
No, child. You gotta be.
And then you hear the no child. No child. It says it so well. The moisture in his voice. The moisture in this man's voice. No child. No child. That man is not right. And his shirt there says, I'm here to help. That's why they said, who are you here to help? He says, America, son. He's here to help. But the pure moisture. Yes. Oh my gosh. No child. No. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Okay? What is wrong with this guy? Why? What would compel you to talk like this? I mean, he had to have been like locked in a closet as a kid, or like his parents got divorced at a very formative time, or he got like molested by his uncle. All of those things I hope did not happen to him. I don't know what else would cause it though. I don't know how you end up like that. Just pure estrogen dripping off of this character. And then there's a prolonged interaction here. Again, following what just happened. And let's check that out.
Have our
Two
pink.
guys in the car, they had to be gang members. You're a racist.
We have. Listen to this guy.
So what did he just say? Some guys. What did he say? There's some guys in your car. They had to be gang members. You're a racist.
Have our
Two
pink.
guys in the car, they had to be gang members. You're a racist.
We have. Listen to this guy. This guy is so angry. The hatred and what's your name, buddy?
My name is Patrick S. Tomlinson.
Patrick S. Tomlinson. Very angry. He says he's here to help.
I
but
am here to help.
He says
Dude flips off the camera, calls them racists. Okay, good start.
he's here to help against people like us, the people that love this country.
You don't love this country.
I don't. Why not? What makes you say that? That sounds like a bigoted statement. Do you know
It
me?
would sound like that too because you're an idiot.
Do you know me?
Calls him an idiot. And again, what is this? This guy, he thinks he's in an anime, or he thinks he's in like a comic. That would sound that way to you because you're an idiot. The way he's just standing there, like the look on his face, the soy in his voice. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
What makes you say that though? What makes you say that I don't love this country?
We've just been sitting here for the last 5 minutes explaining why you don't love this country.
You have.
support a traitor to this country.
Or God bless our president. You mean Hillary? I don't support Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama.
So he says you don't love this country. You don't love this country. The man says, how don't I love this country? Why are you saying that? And there's like some dead air as Pat Tomlinson, his brain is just like not computing the fact that he has to answer a question. Like this isn't Twitter where he can just ignore someone in real life. Like if he makes a claim and someone asks him, why do you think that? You can't just hit mute. He's actually got to give an answer. And he says, because you support a traitor. You support a traitor. You support a traitor! Donald Trump is a traitor to this country. Donald Trump's a traitor. And I wonder why he thinks that. Then he says, no, I didn't support Hillary.
Obama.
No, she didn't. She
That,
won by
if
3
that's who
million
you're
votes.
talking about, a
No,
traitor.
She won by 3 million votes.
And then this guy, interesting interaction there. He says, I don't support a traitor. I don't support Hillary. And I think there's decent evidence that she might be a traitor. And so he says, no, not Hillary. He says Hillary won by 3 million votes. Sounds to me like Pat Tomlinson is an election denier. Pat Tomlinson's denying the legitimacy of our American institution? Is he denying the results of the election by saying that Hillary Clinton actually won?
No, but she lost. She lost fairly. She lost. God bless you, buddy. God bless. Yep.
And if you just caught that, he said, embrace your whiteness. Embrace your whiteness. Flips off the camera and says, embrace your whiteness. That last part, what does that even mean? Pat Tomlinson is white. What does that mean, embrace your whiteness? Who knows? I'm sure it makes good sense to him, but anything that makes good sense to Pat Tomlinson is probably gibberish to everybody else. So, and again, These are the types of people who are in charge of your media. These are the types of people who want to be in charge of what your children get to watch on TV and get to read and get to go see in the movie theaters. It's people like Pat Thomas and people like Joe Glass, Heather Antos, etc., etc. But the soy cuckery of this person is almost appalling. It's almost criminal. His teammates there had to pull him away. They had to disengage him from that fascist's face. And as he says in his tweet here, he says he's always that pressurized. It doesn't go away. And man, if that isn't like the saddest statement that I've heard today, imagine living in that guy's brain all the time. And it's like that all the time. I'm sure that dude with the MAGA hat on goes home and just like, I don't know, watches TV, hangs out with his family, goes to work, does whatever, right? Like this out here of saying, you know, God bless America, God bless our president, this stuff like that. You know, he's just he's a guy who's like into politics and stuff like that. I doubt he's that pressurized all the time. Pat Thompson's admitting that that's what he's like all the time. He's that soy, that cucked out 24/7. And he thinks that he just had an interaction with a fascist. He thinks that guy wanted to bring about the Third Reich. He thinks Donald Trump's a traitor, and that Make America Great Again hat makes you a fascist. He genuinely believes that. You saw that display. If it is up to people like him to stop the fascists, we are in big trouble, folks. But that's Pat Tomlinson. And again, I'll have to find that other clip of him in that interview. It is the most insane thing you'll probably hear for, I don't know, probably this year at least. But we had to watch that interaction and just get a glimpse of who our enemies are. This guy's our enemy. Joe Glass is our enemy. But even then I can say, I can look that guy in the eye, and I can tell that guy wants me dead. He probably genuinely wants to kill me. Do I want to kill Pat Tomlinson? Not at all. Not at all. I wish him well. I hope that people stop doxing his location. I hope that the SWAT department stops raiding his house. That's gotta suck. But I know he is just seething with rage, thinking about this interaction. He probably goes to bed at night thinking about that man with the MAGA hat and how he faced a fascist. He equates himself to the guy, you've seen that picture of the whole crowd, but is it like the whole crowd kneeling to the Nazis, but that one guy standing, he refuses to kneel, which is a badass picture. That's what he thinks he is. He thinks he is standing up to the Nazis. But in reality, he is just embarrassing himself and demonstrating his low IQ. So that wraps up our news stories. So we had the gay Velma, we had the Joe Glass, we had the gay Robin. They won't all be gay stories. It just happened to be a double dip this time. We had the Pat Tomlinson. I thought it's been a pretty good discussion. Now, let's take a slight turn and let's look at the future. This is the now. Let's look at the future. And the future right now is going to be the Black Panther 2 movie. They just released a trailer for it. I don't have the trailer pulled up here. We're not going to watch the trailer. I thought it was a fine trailer, but I'm going to show some of the relevant screenshots courtesy of IGN. And before I do that, my general thoughts about the project altogether. Black Panther 1 was a fine movie. It wasn't that good. It wasn't that bad. It was pretty good. The CGI was lacking. I thought the martial arts were lacking. I think the martial arts were much better in Captain America Civil War when Black Panther was in that movie. I thought it was pretty much perfect. I thought the new suit was not as good. I thought the whole like kinetic energy thing was not as cool, especially when you compare him to the Black Panther suit where the drip is insane. So I didn't like it that much, but it was a fine movie. I'd watch it again. But then the actor died. He had colon cancer, I believe, and he passed away, which was sad because he was a good actor. I've seen some of the other stuff that he was in. Uh, Chadwick Boseman, good actor. He seemed like a genuinely nice person, a good guy. Uh, so that was very tragic that he died. And the response from Marvel has been to not recast him, which has kind of been a controversial issue of whether or not you recast Black Panther. Personally, I think they should. I think he's important enough of a character. They should go ahead and recast him. I think they can do so with still paying respect to the original actor. But that is not the route they're going, at least at the moment. And if you don't know, the setup for Black Panther 2 has been that Wakanda is going to war with not Atlantis, but going to war with Namor and his people. What is his? It's like they've completely fucked up Namor, but it's going to war with Namor, which is a pretty cool comic plot when it happened in the comics. It's probably not going to be that cool in the movie. So here they have the first image. This is Shuri as the new Black Panther. Shuri was Black Panther's younger sister, so she is the new Black Panther. We've got here this suit shooting off into the air. That is Ironheart. That is Riri Williams, who I talked about earlier, getting her feature film debut in Black Panther 2. Here we have Namor himself. And the only cool thing about Namor is the fact that they do have the winged ankles, because that's how he flies in the comics. He has little wings on his ankles. Other than that, the character is pretty much unrecognizable. We've got the Dora Milaje in a fight scene. We've got Namor and his people swimming. Just some shots here. That is Namor. He's probably one of my favorite comic book characters. Like I said, he was Marvel's first comic character, first superhero, I should say. He is nothing like this. He's not like a Mayan dude. That's like the whole vibe they're doing is like a Mayan thing. The city's like Tenochtitlan, whatever it's called. It's not Atlantis. It's like this undersea Mayan city. And they've just completely changed the character and just slapped on the name Namor because it's recognition. So they've completely demolished the character because he is so dope in the comics. He is so cool. He is not going to be that way, but they did say at least that he is a mutant. So he's one of the first mutants in the MCU. He's going to be the villain. Or is he? That's kind of been the thing. This is Wakanda being flooded. There's the throne room being flooded. Namor, he does like a little bounces across the screen like he's jumping on air almost. And then that is Atuma, who is another undersea villain. I wonder if Atuma is not going to be the main villain, because Namor in the comics is looking out for Namor, and he's looking out for Atlantis. If that means that he allies himself with the heroes, then he'll do that. If that means allying himself with the villains, he'll do that. I know he's good friends with Doctor Doom, but he's also worked with the Fantastic Four. Different stuff. Looks like a lot of Dora Milaje in this movie. It was a fine trailer, I think. And then we had the new that is Riri Williams. That's the new Black Panther. And they have the funeral ceremony for T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman. And then we've got what looks to be the undersea city, at least a piece of it here, for Namor. So, new Black Panther movie. Overall thoughts about, do I think the movie's going to be good? No. Do I think the movie's going to be fine? Yes. I think it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's probably going to be a little preachy. It's probably going to be very over-the-top political, if I had to guess. It's going to ruin some characters and add in some terrible ones. But as a movie, it's probably going to be fine. Like, if you knew nothing about these characters and you watched it, you'd probably enjoy it and probably never have to watch it again. So, do with that what you will. I think it'll be fine. That is one thing coming forward. One of the newer Marvel movies that has kind of had a bit more information about it revealed. they've got some very interesting movies coming forward. I don't have much faith in most of them, but that's at least my overall take on Black Panther. Now, like I said at the beginning, I wanted to do a little segment here to kind of close us off. I want to talk about some more obscure comic book characters who I think need more attention. This is stuff where if you don't watch the movies, you've probably never heard of them. Like if all you do, I should say, if all you do is watch the movies, you've probably never heard of them. If you read the comics, you may have seen them around. If you're really into comics, you probably know who they are. And some of these, you might be like, hey, everybody knows who that is, but maybe they just don't get enough attention, in my opinion. So some just cool characters from storyline to character design to power levels, all that stuff. The first one I want to talk about is going to be Anti-Man. So Anti-Man, his arc in the comics is pretty much over. I don't know if they'll ever bring him back. But his main thing was that he is closely tied to the character Blue Marvel, who I think is going to get a lot more play. He's gotten more play in the comics in the last few years, and I think he'll probably get some play in the movies at some point. And the basic idea is that Blue Marvel and Anti-Man were two scientists. They were working with antimatter, like an antimatter reactor, and it essentially leaked out radiation, exploded, whatever. And both of them got antimatter abilities. Now, Blue Marvel was pretty much like a perfect antimatter reactor. He got the good ending, while Anti-Man pretty much got shredded from this reality. Really not so bueno stuff happened to him. But he was extremely, extremely powerful, and he looks awesome. So he had these antimatter abilities, and he comes back to the universe with a vengeance. He is not happy, and he, if I remember correctly, does a pretty good job holding his own against the Avengers. And now I think it was like the Ultimate Avengers or something like that. It wasn't your typical team, but he kicked pretty decent butt, and he was pretty much unstoppable until Blue Marvel came along, and because the two are pretty much like two sides of the same coin, so Blue Marvel was able to subdue the guy. And he had an even more interesting arc. They pretty much like dissolved his body into like antimatter particles. But he actually comes back. And there was a brief storyline in the comics where Galactus, who, if you don't know, is the devourer of worlds, he eats planets. He existed before the universe. He's this big, giant, awesome cosmic being. He becomes what's known as the life bringer, because usually he's devouring planets, but now he is the life bringer, and he's like creating life instead of taking it. And another thing about Galactus is he has heralds that, you know, it's a guy he imbues with something called the power cosmic, gives him abilities. Silver Surfer is probably the most well-known. Silver Surfer is a herald of Galactus. And Anti-Man becomes a herald of Lifebringer Galactus. So that was pretty cool. He got a new design. And again, pretty powerful, pretty awesome. But dope character, dope design. I like him a lot. And I was going to do 3 characters. I'm going to continue doing that in the future. I might just do 1. But so that one's pretty unknown. A second character I think is pretty obscure. This one's less obscure because he has been in a TV show, and that is Karnak the Inhuman. If you know the Inhumans, he's like the second most popular one behind Black Bolt, and Black Bolt was in the new Doctor Strange movie. I like Karnak a lot. He had a really awesome, like a single comic series. It was like maybe like a 6-issue mini. Karnak the Flaw in All Things. And off the top of my head, I don't remember who wrote it and did the art for it, but it is. I've done a review for it on this channel in the past few years ago. It's an awesome comic. One of my favorites, one of the ones I go back and reread the most often. He is an Inhuman, but he has not undergone, I don't know if they call it Terrigenesis or Terrigenesis, the Terrigen Mist, to get his powers. So he has no powers like the Inhumans do, even though he does have Inhuman physiology. But his main thing is that he can see the flaw in all things. So he can, like, look at a brick and see exactly where he has to tap it in order to break it in half, or see exactly how to like touch someone in the shoulder to like explode their shoulder. He's an awesome martial artist. One of the best martial artists in the Marvel Universe. He's got an awesome design, awesome powers, and a really awesome comic. I think that's probably his best representation in the comics. They kind of gave him a redesign. I think that was with the All New, All Different Marvel. They redesigned him a little bit. And I like that a lot. So definitely check him out. And the last character I want to talk about is Titanus, the Super Skrull, who was an awesome character. And I remember reading this comic with him when I was younger. And Titanus was a Skrull who could not shapeshift. And so he underwent the Super Skrull program and became a Super Skrull. Got dropped on Earth and beat up. Is it Sunfire? I think is Japan's superhero. He smashed Sunfire, Sunspot, Firespot, something like that. The Avengers come to subdue him, and he wrecks the Avengers. He knocks out the Hulk, and I think 3 hits. He completely demolishes She-Hulk, demolishes Captain Marvel, knocks out Wolverine with 1 hit 2 different times. And then at some point he smashes his own head to kill himself. But his healing factor is so great that his head re-heals. He has amnesia, goes on another wrecking spree, and then wrecks the Avengers again. This guy is like an insane powerhouse, able to take on an enraged Savage Hulk and others. He's awesome, but he only had like a little tiny appearance. But I think he's a cool character. That's basically what the segment is. So, to cap it off, I think this was a pretty decent first episode. We are going to jump back into, if you haven't checked out this graphic novel of mine, Noble Comics Presents The Displacer, go check it out. See everything here. Get yourself a copy before time runs out. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm going to try to keep doing more of these. Maybe an every Tuesday thing. Don't hold me to it. I've got a pretty busy schedule. We'll see how it all works out. But thanks you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.